Hi, I'm here. In this video, we are going to learn about our 5 senses. We will also learn about some other interesting things related to our senses. So let's get started. Our first sense is the sense of touch or feeling. It allows us to feel things around us such as hot, cold, rough, smooth, etc. We have millions of receptors that detect these feelings all over our body. They are located in our skin and they are called cutaneous receptors. There are different types of cutaneous receptors. Some respond to pressure, others to temperature, and yet others to pain. Now let's look at this girl. She has receptors all over her body. When she touches a flower, the receptors in her fingertips send messages through her nerves to her brain, which then interprets the message. Her brain tells her that the flower is soft. Similarly, if she were to touch a tree, she would be able to tell that its bark is rough. And if she touched a block of ice, she would know it was cold. All of this happens because of her sense of touch. We use our sense of touch for many reasons. We touch people when we greet them as a sign of friendship. We also touch objects to explore our surroundings. For example, we might feel if a door is open before we walk through it. Touch is also important when we eat. We can feel the texture of food with our fingers before we put it in our mouth. We can also feel its temperature. If the soup is too hot, we wait until it cools down before eating it. Touch helps us avoid danger. If something is very sharp, we quickly take our hand away to avoid getting hurt. Our sense of touch is very important. Without it, we would not be able to interact with our environment or protect ourselves from harm. The next sense is the sense of taste. With this sense, we can enjoy many different flavors of food, such as sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. These tastes come from chemicals in food that stimulate special nerve endings on our tongues. These nerve endings send signals to our brains, which then allow us to taste the food. You see, our tongue has many taste buds. Each taste bud contains several taste receptors. Receptors are tiny cells that detect specific chemicals in our food. For example, when we eat something sweet like candy, sugar molecules enter our mouth and attach to the sweet receptors on our tongue. These receptors send signals to our brain, which interprets them as a sweet taste. Different foods stimulate different receptors, allowing us to taste a variety of flavors. There are 5 basic tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. Sweet taste is produced by sugars, starches, and certain acids. Sour taste is produced by acids like lemon juice. Salty taste is produced by salts like table salt. Bitter taste is produced by alkaloids like caffeine. And finally, umami taste is produced by amino acids, nucleotides, and some sugars. Our sense of taste is important for several reasons. First, it helps us identify safe foods to eat. For example, we naturally avoid bitter foods because they may be poisonous. Next, it helps us enjoy our meals. Can you imagine how boring life would be without any flavors? Finally, our sense of taste helps us maintain good nutrition. We naturally crave foods that are rich in nutrients like sweets and fats. Now let's do some fun activities related to the sense of taste. First, try to identify some foods based on their taste. Here you see some foods, but their names have been mixed up. Try to match each food with its correct name. Sweet is B-U-M-I-S-A-L-T-Y-S-O-U-R and B-I-T-T-E. Okay, now let's move on to the next activity. Here you see 4 mixtures, A, B, C, and D. One of the mixtures contains only salt, another only sugar, a third only lemon juice, and the fourth only baking soda. Taste each mixture and identify which container has the salty taste, which has the sweet taste, which has the sour taste, and which has the bitter taste. You can use a spoon to taste each mixture. Okay, now we are going to do the last activity. Imagine that you are having lunch in a restaurant. You order some French fries, but they are too salty, too big, and too hard. Describe the French fries using the 3 words you hear: too salty, too big, and too hard. Now try to replace these words with other adjectives. For example, instead of saying too salty, say really unsalted. Instead of saying too big, say really small. And instead of saying too hard, say really soft. Our third sense is the sense of smell. With this sense, we can detect odors in our environment. We have millions of olfactory receptors in our nose. These receptors respond to chemicals in the air and send signals to our brain. Our brain interprets these signals, and we become aware of different smells. When we breathe in, odor molecules travel through our nostrils and reach the olfactory epithelium. This is a small area in the upper part of our nose containing the olfactory receptors. These receptors bind to specific odor molecules and send signals to our olfactory bulb. The olfactory bulb is a structure in our brain responsible for processing smells. When we breathe in, odor molecules enter our nose and stimulate our olfactory receptors. Our olfactory bulb receives these signals and interprets the smell. Our sense of smell helps us detect dangerous gases and odors. For example, if there is a gas leak in our home, we can smell it and leave the house immediately. It also helps us identify spoiled foods so we don't eat it. Furthermore, our sense of smell plays an important role in our daily lives. When we smell something pleasant, it can improve our mood. On the other hand, an unpleasant smell can make us feel sick. Now let's do some fun activities related to the sense of smell. First, try to identify some smells. Here you see some pictures, but their names have been mixed up. Try to match each picture with the correct word. BRUNEQCLEANROMPOWDAREDFGHKLMNOP. Okay, now let's move on to the next activity. Here you see a series of containers. One of them contains cinnamon, another coffee, a third vanilla extract, and the fourth dish soap. Smell each one and identify which container has the pleasant smell and which has the unpleasant smell. And now we are going to do the last activity. Close your eyes and try to guess what your friends are smelling. Your friends will take turns smelling these objects and trying to identify them. Our fourth sense is the sense of hearing. With this sense, we can listen to sounds around us such as music, voices, animal noises, etc. Sounds travel through the air as waves of pressure. When these waves enter our ear, they vibrate our eardrum. The eardrum sends these vibrations to our brain, which then interprets them as sounds. Here's a girl listening to her favorite song. The sound waves from the speakers vibrate the air molecules around her. These air molecules collide with each other, creating a wave of pressure that travels through the air like dominoes. Once these waves of pressure reach her eardrum, it begins to vibrate. The vibrations are then transmitted through her auditory ossicles, which are 3 tiny bones in her middle ear. These bones amplify and transmit the vibrations to her inner ear. Inside her inner ear, there is a fluid that moves in response to the vibrations. This movement stimulates tiny hair cells that send signals to her brain. Her brain then interprets these signals and she hears the song. Hearing is important for many reasons. It allows us to communicate with others through spoken language. It also helps us detect danger, such as the sound of a siren or an earthquake. Music is enjoyable and can improve our mood. It also helps us learn and memorize things. Now let's do some fun activities related to the sense of hearing. First, try to identify some sounds. Here you see some pictures, but their names have been mixed up. Try to match each picture with the correct word. DUMBWQREYCVXCIOPASDIKLETSNIAKVHJKL. Let's move on to the next activity. Here you will hear a series of sounds. Identify the odd one out in each group. Which sound is different from the others? Listen carefully. And now we are going to do the last activity. Close your eyes and try to guess what sound your friends are making. Your friends will take turns making different sounds and you will try to identify them. Our fifth sense is the sense of sight. With this sense, we can see the world around us, such as colors, shapes, sizes, brightness, and darkness. We see thanks to the light waves that enter our eyes and stimulate our photoreceptor cells. These cells send signals to our brain, which then interprets them as images. Light waves enter our eyes through our pupils. The amount of light that enters our eyes is controlled by our iris. It acts like a diaphragm in a camera, expanding or contracting our pupil to allow more or less light in. The light then passes through the lens, which focuses it onto our retina. The retina is a layer of nerve tissue at the back of our eye. It contains millions of photoreceptor cells called rods and cones. Rods are responsible for seeing in black and white and detecting movement. Cones are responsible for seeing color and detail. When light hits these cells, they send signals to our optic nerve. The optic nerve carries these signals to our brain, which interprets them as images. Sight is essential for many reasons. It allows us to navigate our surroundings and avoid obstacles. It also helps us interact with others and read written language. Sight is also important for our enjoyment of the world around us. Imagine how boring life would be without being able to see beautiful landscapes or the faces of loved ones. Now let's do some fun activities related to the sense of sight. First, try to identify some things you see. Here you see some pictures, but their names have been mixed up. Try to match each picture with the correct word. BROCCLENORTUVWXYZASDFGHJKLNNOP. Okay. Now let's move on to the next activity. Here you will see a series of pictures. Identify the odd one out in each group. Which picture is different from the others? Listen carefully. And now we are going to do the last activity. Close your eyes and try to guess what your friends are showing you. Your friends will take turns showing you different things and you will try to identify them. Humans also have other senses in addition to the 5 we already talked about. One of them is the sense of balance. We have receptors in our inner ears that detect changes in position and movement. These receptors send signals to our brain, which then maintains our balance. Another sense is the sense of thirst. When our body detects a lack of water, it sends signals to our brain, which then makes us feel thirsty. This sense is important for maintaining hydration. Another sense is the sense of hunger. When our body detects a need for nutrients, it sends signals to our brain, which then makes us feel hungry. This sense is important for obtaining food. Another sense is the sense of fatigue. When our body becomes tired, it sends signals to our brain, which then makes us feel sleepy. This sense is important for resting and recovering. So those are our 5 senses and some other interesting things related to them. We hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more educational content. Thanks for watching.